Hi, friends, and welcome to another edition of Keeping Up with the Jackrabbits. We hope you are staying safe wherever you may be. I'm Tyler Merriam, lucky enough to be joined in this edition by the Assistant Athletic Director for Sports Medicine, Ben Hines. Ben, how are you?
I'm doing great, Tyler. How are you doing?
I am doing well. You and I have known each other a long time because you've been at South Dakota State a long time. Do you remember your first year in Brookings?
I do remember my first year. In some aspects, it seems like yesterday. In other aspects, a little longer than that. When I first was hired on all those years ago, I think back in 2003, I started out with kind of covering men's and women's basketball, predominantly women's basketball. Did that for a few years. Was asked to move over and cover football. I did that for 5 years. And then my wife and I, well, she started having kids, but we started a family, and I was looking for, we needed a change, and it just so happened that our soccer athletic trainer was leaving to go back to school, and I slid in and took more of an administrative role, and I did that, and then became the director a few years after that, and so I've kind of been, I've seen a lot of aspects of athletics and of our teams here at South Dakota State. And I think that gives me maybe a little bit of a unique perspective.
Give us an idea in a traditional standpoint before the last few weeks of what a day was like in the life of Ben Hines.
Typically, a day for me, I do cover women's soccer. We were having early morning workouts, so we were going 4 mornings a week at 6 a.m. The women were lifting in the afternoons at 3 o'clock, so I was there for that as well. And then in between that, we're doing rehabilitations. We're doing some preventative injury stuff, and then just a lot of paperwork. Responding to emails, working with Sanford on projects, whatever they may be. Talking with coaches. Making sure we're staying on budget, getting inventory ordered.
Now, you brought up your family. I'd like to highlight them for a moment. First off, tell us a little more about you and your wife and your kids.
Yes. So my wife is Tara Hines. She's a physician assistant in town. She was a long time in the emergency room, and just recently, last October, kind of transitioned to a clinic position. And that was, to be honest with you, more of a personal choice. My son Andrew, who's 10, is getting more and more involved in sports. My daughter, who's 8, Emily, she is getting more involved with sports and gymnastics. Both of them play the piano. And so for her to be working nights, weekends, holidays, it was difficult for her. So she transitioned to the clinic. That's kind of been our family makeup. It's been interesting the last couple weeks, even longer, coming home, talking to her about, COVID-19. What are her thoughts? And so it's been interesting.
Well,
It's been interesting.
and I do want to get into that part of it because you see things from such a different perspective than most of us. And for those outside of the department who don't know this, you were sort of set up as the liaison with Sanford Health, with all of the coaches and the rest of the staff. So you kind of were in at the ground floor in some respects of working with our partner in Sanford Health as to how to deal with some of this.
I mean, I can remember kind of the week before spring break is kind of when things started kind of happening. Around that time, I was asked to kind of start getting in some meetings across campus, and just kind of gather information. What are other schools doing? At that time, I contacted Steve Young down at Sanford. He's kind of my liaison down there. He and I work great together. And I picked up the phone and I called him and I said, it was I think this Friday of before the Summit League tournaments kind of started, right around there. And I said, Steve, this is where we're at. And I said, you've got a lot of smart people down there. And I'm reading a lot online. Can we get together? Can we work something out where your smart people can I sit in on a meeting? Are you meeting yet? He said, Ben, this is a great idea. We do have a group that's meeting. Let's get some other Summit League schools involved that Sanford is partnering with. And lo and behold, the next Wednesday, the day after the Summit League Championship, we had our first kind of meeting. We had athletic directors involved, sports medicine, and then some of the physicians and the higher ups from Sanford, and we all got in on a conference call. And we've had one every Wednesday since then, and it's been fantastic.
You and your wife, you're in the field of healthcare, both of you are. And yet you got two kids here, like you said, 10 and 8. Are you having any conversations with them? How has this come up beyond just, hey, you don't have to go to school for the next few weeks?
Yep. It was interesting. So when the first cases were announced by Governor Nome, I knew the next day at school they were going to hear about it, and so I wanted to sit them down and talk with them. This is what's going on, and we want you to know that this is something we're all concerned about. But I said I'm not worried about you guys per se. I'm not even necessarily worried about mom and dad. But what we're worried about it is we're learning every day about different parts of our community that maybe will be affected by that, and we need to watch out for those. And it was amazing. They grasped that pretty well. They've done really well with it. I told them, we're going to limit, the amount of time that you interact with some of your friends, and it's not a punishment. This isn't a punishment. We're going to do a lot of things as a family. We're going to play games. We're going to play catch. We're going to watch some movies. We're going to bake brownies today. We're going to play a mean game well, we ran out of clean spoons, so we played forks tonight. And so, yeah, it's been good.
How have you and your staff maintained a presence with these student athletes? How are you maintaining relationships and communication with them?
When all of this kind of started, we were preparing just to maybe not be around them for 7 days, right? Because it was the start of spring break. Hey, I'll see you in 7 days. So a lot of us gave our student athletes, a home program to work on, right? Here's some exercises, do this, don't do that. If you have any questions, give me a call. Those types of things, shoot me a text. And then, we kind of got into that uncertainty. Okay, well, we're going to extend spring break. All right. So then it was, again, getting on the phone, shooting texts, communicating with coaches. We had to adjust some surgeries. We had to adjust some physical therapy appointments, follow-up visits. And then obviously, it evolved, right? And it was kind of changing there by the hour, by the day. What was going to happen? Are we going to have it? Are we not going to have it? And so it was actually, we were happy that when it finally was made a decision, we're like, okay, we're going to have, only online classes, nothing in person. Now we can move forward with our plan. And it's been a lot of Zoom or Skype, right? Where we sit down with our student athletes, we're showing them exercises, we're progressing them. How are you doing? How is this feeling? We're texting them exercises. Maybe it's emails to get that care and that rehab that they need.
For those of us who are following this on a day-to-day basis, everything going on in the world, in our region, and what are the things that you would tell if somebody comes up and asks you, and I'll be the one, hey, I'm reading all this stuff online, I'm concerned about this, what can I do to be as safe as I can be in this environment?
Well, the biggest thing you can do is obviously we need to listen to the experts, right? We need to follow what the CDC is recommending, and so we need to keep our social distancing down. If you have to go out, try to keep as much distance as you can, 6 feet from someone else. Wash your hands, and then lastly, if you feel sick, if you don't feel well, even if you have a little bit of a cold or a cough or a runny nose, stay home. Stay home. Make sure you talk to your provider over the phone. They're the ones that will give you direction. They're the ones that they'll follow up with you, make sure that you're doing okay. But those are the big things I would say that people can do right now. But the whole gist of it, at the end of the day, what we want to do is we want to flatten the curve, because we don't want to inundate your wife, my wife, and all the providers here in Brookings. We don't want to inundate them and get them slammed where they're not able to put people in beds, and we don't want to get anything near that where they're trying to figure out how they're going to care for all of the people that they want to care for. So you're absolutely right. We need to do everything we can for them because they're the rock stars.
Ben, wonderful conversation. Appreciate your time today, and I look forward to passing you in the hall sometime in the very near future.
It'll be fantastic, man. I look forward to it as well.
And that is Ben Hines, and that's our latest edition of Keeping Up with the Jackrabbits.